After a fiery week at the UN, India's permanent representative to the UN, Syed Akbaruddin, talked to WION World is One. Listen in to what he said and explained why India chose to send in a young diplomat during its right to reply, despite global ramifications.
Before have we intensely engaged in the manner that we did during this week? The Prime Minister himself had, I think, as many as 17 bilateral engagements, but a multiplicity of plurilateral engagements. So we've engaged at the leaders' level in an unprecedented manner. For the first time, we've had these plurilateral meetings of India engaging with regions. It's never been done before. For the first ever summit of India and CARICOM was held. The CARICOM, of course, we all know, are familiar with their cricketing abilities. But there are a lot more commonalities between the CARICOM and India, and that was the focus there. The key takeaway is India is reaching out to the world in a peaceful and harmonious manner. It's an outreach which is extensive, it's an outreach which is expansive, and it's an outreach which is all-embracing. We are a country with a tradition, a country with a very consistent approach. We also know Pakistan very well and its approach. So if its focus is on one issue, and this issue which we are very familiar with, we always field our young diplomats who are confident, who reflect a new India, who reflect a ability to articulate India's position in a very nuanced manner, but also very forcefully. So they bring to the table a zest and an energy of the young and an understanding of the issues which is historical in nature. It is one where things are not being done. The world is changing, and in changing dramatically and exponentially. Yet the Security Council has been resistant to change. Organizations which don't change may meet more and more but become less and less effective. It's a call that they have to take. Do they want to be relevant to the issues of the day, to addressing and resolving the primary issues that impact on global peace and security, or other ways will be found? Contemporary realities have to be adjusted. It's the norm in every segment of life. So India's articulation across the UN was on themes that were listed by the President of the General Assembly. If other countries want to stray away from that, it's their choice. The United Nations is a place where people work in partnerships. Partnerships can be forged on issues of common interest, not on individual interests. Mm-hmm. So if Pakistan wants to project an issue of individual interest, this is their choice. Mm-hmm. They wasted it, as you said.
So remember earlier, in fact, in New York, India had exercised its right to reply to issue a strong rebuttal to Imran Khan's speech. It was a sharp point-by-point rebuttal to the Pakistani Prime Minister on Friday. Imran Khan had tried to whip up a hysteria by warning of a bloodbath in Kashmir. He even issued a nuclear threat from the platform of the United Nations. It's probably the first time that a head of state has issued such a threat from the platform of a UNGA. Now, here are the next 5 big takeaways from India's right to reply.
Unfortunately, what we heard today from Prime Minister Imran Khan of Pakistan was a callous portrayal of the world in binary terms. Us versus them, rich versus poor, north versus south, developed versus developing, Muslims versus others. A script that fosters divisiveness at the United Nations, attempts to sharpen differences and stir up hatred are, simply put, hate speech. Prime Minister Imran Khan's threat of unleashing nuclear devastation qualifies as brinksmanship, not statesmanship. Even coming from the leader of a country that has monopolized the entire value chain of the industry of terrorism, Prime Minister Khan's justification of terrorism was brazen and incendiary. Can Pakistan confirm the fact that it is home to 130 UN-designated terrorists and 25 terrorist entities listed by the UN as of today. Will Pakistan acknowledge that it is the only government in the world that provides pension to an individual listed by the UN in the Al-Qaeda and Daesh sanctions list? Can Pakistan explain why, here in New York, its premier bank, the Habib Bank, had to shut shop after it was fined millions of dollars over terror financing? Will Pakistan deny that the Financial Action Task Force has put the country on notice for its violations of more than 20 of the 27 key parameters? And finally, would Prime Minister Khan deny to the city of New York that he was an open defender of Osama bin Laden? Rarely has the General Assembly witnessed such misuse, rather abuse, of an opportunity to reflect. Words matter in diplomacy. The invocation of phrases such as pogrom, bloodbath, racial superiority, pick up the gun, and fight to the end reflect a medieval mindset and not a 21st century vision. This is a country that has shrunk the size of its minority community from 23% in 1947 to 3% today, and has subjected Christians, Sikhs, Ahmadiyas, Hindus, Shias, Pashtuns, Sindhis, and Balochis to draconian blasphemy laws, systemic persecution, and blatant abuse and forced conversions. Their newfound fascination for preaching human rights is akin to trophy hunting of the endangered mountain goat, the markhor. Pogroms, Prime Minister Imran Khan Niazi, are not a phenomenon of today's vibrant democracies. We would request you to refresh your rather sketchy understanding of history. Do not forget the gruesome genocide perpetrated by Pakistan against its own people in 1971 and the role played by Lieutenant General A.A.K. Niazi. A sordid fact that the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh reminded this Assembly about earlier this afternoon.